Christian fiction, like Christian music and Christian movies, gets criticized for being preachy and not that good. I read both Christian fiction and secular fiction, and I'd say that there are good and bad books in both markets. But today I will be talking about some Christian books that I'd say are actually good. Welcome back to Chickens. And so, yes, as the title said, that's what we're going to be talking about. So today I have four books. There are other Christian fiction books I like, but I tried to pick ones that I'd say are more like objectively good. So let's get into it. Also, this is the first one of the. This is the first time I'm doing a kind of recommendation sort of video. So yeah, hope you like it. So this first book would be what you would be more for if you're looking for more of a fluff read. The other books are kind of more like serious, hard hitting, but this one does have more serious elements, and that is All That Really Matters by Nicole Deese. Yes, I'm talking about this book again. If you might be talking about. So this book is about Molly. She is a social media influencer with over 600,000 followers, and her boyfriend turned manager is like um, or manager turned boyfriend. I forget which one it is, but he informs her of an opportunity to host this Netflix show. But there's a few things she has to accomplish. One of the things she has to do is attach herself to a cause. And the cause she picks is this, I guess, this kind of transitional house called the Bridge, where yeah, it's a transitional house for kids who have aged out of the foster care system and to help them um, learn practical life skills and yeah, all that good, all that good stuff. And at first they're hesitant to bring her on, but then they do, and she starts connecting with the girls and with the main director of the Bridge, Mr. Silas Whitaker. Um, but then there starts to be conflicts between her life as a social media influencer and the Bridge, and she starts to learn what really matters. Yeah, the aspect of this book that I liked the most at the time is that it is very much a page turner. Like, you won't care that it's 400 pages, about 400 pages. So, yeah, I really liked that. But there are other things I liked, like the relationship between Molly and Ren. Like, so precious. So, so this is a romance book, but about that romance, like I don't know if I will give much helpful information for those usually reading romance, because I didn't mind that element, but I also that's not what I was reading for. So here's that. In terms of like this being a Christian book, the Christian content is pretty light. Like there's more than I expected because I heard that modern Christian fiction doesn't have much content, but still it's pretty light. Um, this is also I think so. This is also a Christie Award winner. Um, Not the first one I've read, but the winners in the past I've read were from like years ago, so recent one. So yes, this is um yeah this is this is a good book. So anyway, also one thing I wanted to mention is that there is a second book after All That Really Matters called All That It Takes. I won't hold it up or put the cover up because I'm not recommending this book. I I didn't like that one. Um, I mean, it still might be a good book, and you can read it if you want, but yeah. All right, the next book to talk about is probably one of my favorite books I've read so far this year, and that is The Solace of Water by Elizabeth Byler Younes. I'll probably be talking about this book quite a bit, although maybe not that much. So, anyways, so this book synopsis. Um, so first we got a mother and daughter, um, African American mother and daughter. So the mom's name is Delilah, and the daughter's name is Sparrow, and they've moved to a new town after the death of, well, the mom's son, the daughter's brother, and the daughter knows that she's responsible for it because she's supposed to be watching him, and the mom kind of resents her oldest daughter um, because of that. So there's tension between, and then they meet an Amish woman named Emma, and she's got her own problems she's dealing with. But then they start to bond. First, the Sparrow and Emma start to bond, and Emma kind of sees her as the daughter she never had. But then eventually her and Delilah connect as well. But then things happen. So yes, this is an interesting book. So at first I wasn't really liking it because I was still in I need to be drawn in to like it phase, and I wasn't need to be drawn in. But then while reading this book I said, okay, I'm gonna try to get out of this. I'm gonna try to appreciate this book without needing to be drawn in, and it worked. So this is just a really great story about redemption and forgiveness and like all these all these good things. Of course, like the friendship aspect, as we talked about in things I like in books. Um, and there is a little bit of a romance between Sparrow and Emma's son, but it's not like a main plot. So if you kind of like romance as like a subplot, then I think you'll like this book. And in terms of like the Christian content in this book, it feels very natural and not forced. Like it's like kind of naturally woven into the story, which is really good because a lot of the times in some Christian fiction and of course in Christian movies it kind of feels like the Christian message is being like forced in or that it has to be in every scene. That's not the case with this one. So yeah. Ooh. This next book might be a bit controversial. Yes, this author's books has been in some controversy in the past. I don't know if this is one of them, but even so, this will definitely be controversial because of the subject matter. I'm nervous to talk about this one on the internet, but so next book is The Atonement Child by Francine Rivers. Now, the reason I'm recommending this book and not any of Francine Rivers' other books is because at this point, this is the only Francine Rivers book I've read. So, and unfortunately, in order to talk about this book and explain what it's about, I will have to speak in code because a lot of these words I'm pretty sure YouTube does not like. So, and what's the subject matter, you ask? The unaliving of babies in the womb. Yeah. Ah, don't be serious. So for code this to, so I will be saying like R word to describe the SA, and then for the main subject matter, I'll be saying just a word. Okay, got it? Right. So this book is about a girl named Dinah. She's loved the Lord her whole life, and she is now at a Bible college. Things are going well. She's engaged to the seemingly great Christian guy. Everything's going well. But then she gets R-worded. And as if the trauma from that wasn't enough, she discovers that she is pregnant as the result of that. And the people around her are telling her, oh, just get an A word, you know? You didn't choose this, you didn't all this. But Dinah is hesitant to do so. And then soon we find out that this issue has affected some of the women in her family. I have to mention, I read this in my, I think it's my March one book a day. That's where I read it. And I'm not looking forward to reading this one because I don't like the pregnancy trope or whatever. And then shortly before I started reading, I found out it was pregnancy as a result of R word, and I was like, oh no. And we will get to the reason why that is. But the reason why I first picked up this book is because, okay, like people say that like Francine Rivers is a good writer. Well, I want to see for myself. So this was kind of a way to like test the waters of like her writing, and I understand the hype. This is a really well written book. Yeah, so this is kind of a hard to talk about because this like this issue of like a word is controversial, and understandably so, because for a lot of women this is very personal, like it's either they've gone through it or like they know someone who has, or like all these things. So, and the reason why I didn't wasn't looking forward to this book because of it would have pregnancy as a result of R word is because there was another book that had that, and I can't say the title of that book because the fact that it includes that subject matter is actually a spoiler. But um, so I read that book and I hated that book, but mainly because of this. Because I was mad at that book, and I think one of the reasons like authors might want to write about this is because they might want to change minds or like impact. But this other book, I was like, let's be real. No one reading this book is gonna have their mind changed on this issue. Like I already agree with what I think they're trying to say, and even I'm mad. So with that in mind, um, I was not looking forward to this. But I don't know if it was because I knew this had this subject matter what, but I think that if any fiction book can change someone's mind on this issue, I think this book, The Atonement Child, can. Now, of course, I mentioned with this being a personal issue, I was gonna say something about like how we gotta be sensitive when talking about this. Do I think this book was sensitive around it? I mean, I think so, but then someone in the comments is gonna be like, "Oh no, David's not. David's horrible." I don't want that, but so like, I mean, I think it was, but maybe other people will feel differently. So there's that. And then this was also like I guess a clean book. Um, yeah, this was a clean book. Like the actual attack is not really described. I don't know if I want to talk too much about how Francine Rivers did that. So yeah, this book is pretty clean. There isn't really a lot of like content because I know people often get mad at like Redeeming Love, like the content in that one. And then I've also heard that like Bridge to Haven might have some like not great content in that thing, but I've only heard that from one person, but they seem pretty disturbed by it, so I don't know. Hopefully people don't yell at me now. The last book for this video is actually another Christian Award winner, I believe. That is Where the Blue Sky Begins by Katie Pounder. So I recently read this, and I kind of feel weird talking about it in this way before I do my recent reads on it, but we're doing this anyway. So this is about Eric. Eric is in his 30s and he's from Seattle, but he he, but his uncle invited him to come work at the bank, I think, or like some kind of thing like that in this small town in Montana. And while there, he meets his next door neighbor, Eunice. And Eunice is um she's in her 40s, but she is terminally ill. So yeah, but because she is dying, she wants to go back and apologize to people in her past. And because of things in the beginning, she asks Eric to help him do that. So they do, and at first they're kind of opposed, but then they become friends. And through Eunice's behavior in her last days, she starts to influence Eric on what to do. So, one thing I want to make clear, so like this is not a romance book. So if you, which I was a little, I was a little unsure of that. Because, well, I won't talk about that too much now. But yeah, so if you're expecting like a romance from that synopsis, like you're gonna be disappointed. There won't be. There is, I guess, kind of some romantic elements, but I don't know if I can talk about that too much. Um, and there, unfortunately, I didn't really enjoy this book, but I think this is a really good book. Like it's got, so of course we're in a small town in Montana, so it's got all the small town vibes. So that's pretty fun. And then of course it is like very well written and how things are tied up at the end. It's good. So yeah. So that is it for this video. I hope you, I hope I inspired you to maybe pick up one of these books to give Christian fiction a chance, maybe. So yeah, that is all. Goodbye.